thanks for watching, listening. We're on episode 107 of VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast. You know, you can get us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all those platforms. So we're very easy to access. Please have a listen. Please like us, or even don't like us. You know me, Steve Lillis. You know the main man up there in the top, John Evans, with his, what is it, motorbike helmets behind him? Or no, it's NFL helmets.
Motorbike helmets downstairs.
Oh, right. Oh, of course, you got your new racing bike. I saw it last week. And a fine red beast it looks, John.
Yeah, join the Ducati club, haven't I? Some people want like Ferraris and Bentleys and stuff. I've always wanted a Ducati. I wanted to be Carl Fogarty when I was younger, so I'm on my way now at last.
You're still the poshest man in Oldham with that bike, mate.
You have to keep moving of it, nick it.
I tell you what, special guest tonight. A guy John has seen box the other recently. Someone I've got to know since I've been matchmaking over the past few months. It's been great getting to know him. He's a seriously good journeyman and knows what this game is all about. I think it's 30 fights now. It's George Rogers. George, thanks for joining us. I've got to know a little bit about you over the last few months. And, you know, you told me about your work and all that on Saturday and what you say to boxers. We're going to talk about that later on. I haven't even spoke to John Evans about this. So we'll even surprise John about what you do and all that. But are you out I think you said you're out every week this month in March, aren't you?
I'm out. No, so I'm having the 11th off because I've got a few 6-rounders at the back end of the month. Hopefully out this week, mate. So Scott Kalo, as you know, my manager, we call him the magic man. Hopefully he'll magic something up and I'll get something this week. But yeah, so not the 11th because of the 6-rounders. We thought we'd have a break that week. So we've got a couple of them on the spin or close to on the spin. But this hopefully something comes up this week. I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I ring Scott to book you, he must know it in the top of his head before without checking, because he comes back within seconds on a WhatsApp, even though he's at work all day, and he just says, no, he's in so-and-so that week, and he couldn't even have time to check a book to tell him, so he must have it all registered in there.
He's a brilliant bloke. Yeah, brilliant bloke. He does so much for his fighters, honestly. He's a top bloke.
He works, he trains, he used to box, he manages and promotes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, he does a lot.
George, I was just talking off before we started recording. You know, you don't really come around Manchester much, and I saw you against Alberto Cumi a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, God, that's a good test for any young fighter, George. Yeah. People look at you, ignore the record. You can fight a bit, and you're going to give people a real awkward night's work. When you turned over, was it to become an opponent? Did you have that in your mind, or is that just something that dawned on you and you've fallen into?
So we'll go into that later, John, to be fair, but I turned over being an opponent because we'll go into, so I always had my day job that I'm passionate about anyway and wanted to build anyway. So I knew feasibly, probably on ability level, and when I took it up, I won't get to the real high echelons of the sport. And I just knew with training, say you get to certain levels, you've got to be training full time, ain't you, to really excel at it. Whereas I can fit mine around my day job, you know what I mean? So I knew it was perfect for me. Yeah, I knew, but I loved doing it, and I loved it. I knew it was perfect for me being a road warrior. So yeah. Yeah,
I know we're going to talk about your career later, but you were saying to me Saturday, you're 100 fights and then walking away, aren't you?
That's the idea. Yeah. So I've just started a business which we'll go into hopefully, but that once I get 200 fights, that'll be ready to take over, and I can look back and say I've achieved everything I wanted to, and I'll be up and down the country doing what I enjoyed doing. To be fair, because it's tough work, as we know.
Right, all right. Well, we'll kick on with a pod now. You listen every week or watch every week, Joe. I think you listen. You said when you're on when you're traveling for work, and we're going 3 minutes each round. John can get angry. He might have that smile and look mild manner, but he's not just, you can imagine when I do Ducati being pretty nasty, can't you? If you ever try to cut him up. He's one of those guys who will come up to you and snarl at you and everything like that. But if you don't keep quiet after 3 minutes, he's at it. He loses.
Yeah, we're gonna get stricter on this, aren't we? We've been going way over on every round, so we need to get back to what we will was meant to be.
We will, and the last round is when we go over a little bit. But we'll start with a subject. You've spoken about what you're passionate about, George. A topic that John's passionate about: Tank v Garcia.
Yeah, finally the lightweights have got their act together and how long have we been talking about Tank and Garcia?
You've been talking
Tank against anybody or Garcia against anybody, and finally we're getting it. So I'm going to refrain from slagging these lightweights off now until the fight's been and gone, because there's no world title on the line, is there? I don't think. Because it's been
136 pound, pound overweight,
yeah, pound of lightweight.
910, yeah.
But this doesn't need a title. This is a real, genuine, modern super fight. I'll call it a modern super fight because of the way the profiles have been built. But they're both explosive, they're both fast, they're both ambitious. They can both end a fight at any second. Little vulnerabilities about Garcia's chin when Campbell put him over, but he showed real heart and character to come back and beat an Olympic gold medalist. I think that's a real underrated win from Garcia. Tank can be devastating on his day. I just don't see how this can fail. The styles are made for each other. The personalities are made for each other. I think it's going to get a lot of hype and be built into the biggest fight of the year, and I think it might actually live up to it, this one. I think this is a surefire winner.
I agree. Yeah, I agree, John. Yeah. Who are you thinking? Who you fancy?
I like Tank. I think Tank could be special.
I do as well.
Yeah, I like Tank, but you know what? It's a fight I'm a bit cynical about. I'll believe it when it happens. But you know what's sad about this? You know, you said it's a super fight, but isn't it a shame these guys, how great they are, they're still not known to the mainstream public, where without, you know, it's a different world now to 30 years ago. You know, Leonard, Hearns, everyone knew about them. You'd go to the cinema and watch them. Papers would write about them. They'd be on the radio all day, these fights. And, you know, it's a super fight by today's standards. Certainly not a super fight by the standards we know, John.
No. Tank and Garcia should be fighting for the second or third time, like Leonard and Hearns. And if you look at the ages of them, at least that's one thing I will give these two over a lot of the top fighters at the moment. They're both in the mid-20s, aren't they? I remember Hearns and Leonard fought when they were in the mid-20s and put it all on the line. So, yeah, I'll give them credit. But, you know, they could have easily gone different directions, but it's taken forever to get together. But they've both agreed to it. No slagging off of the lightweights for a bit, and I genuinely can't wait.
And the cushion there is, John, even for the loser, there's still a bunch of, shall we say, mega fights in that division.
Well, whoever loses is going to be seen by the rest of the lightweights as a high-paying, easy touch, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the winner will probably go into hibernation for another year or something like that, but the loser might actually get more opportunities. I just want to see these guys fight. It's not happened enough.
Are you going to go to it, John, I wondered?
Possibly. I'll have a look into it. A fight's not jumped out at me for a long time, but this one really has.
I just find out. Right, round two, you're going to kick us off here, George, and talk. That, you know, you were telling me the other night about the narrative of how you think the narrative could improve for these boxers.
Yeah, I wanted to put this out to you two boxing people. So I just think boxing with us as a whole, boxing needs to, we've really got to get people on board with the area titles, English titles, British titles, and build a narrative. The promoters or the board and the fighters themselves, of course, but just build a narrative around these fights, because they are absolute. If once people see these fights, they are absolute barnstormers. So I went to last year as a fan. I went to one of Scott's shows at the Newark Showground. I went to Chad Sugden versus Joel McIntyre.
Oh yeah, Joel won that. Yeah,
which Joel won with that punch, and it was an absolute barnstormer. I also went to Ryan Amos and Kyle Haywood
on
a Carl Grieve show. And they're absolutely brilliant fights and brilliant nights. Just as a boxing, we really have, I believe, we've got to get people to understand the fighters, understand what they're about, and get people to these fights, because it's absolutely missing a trick. I don't know what you boys thinking, and how they go around doing that. And I thought I'd put this out to you two, because it's so important.
I think British titles have gone missing. I think when I say missing, you know, for attention, because of the fact that we're having, they're usually third or fourth on a bill on a you know, a big card, shall we say? and they just get lost because the promoters are selling what the top of the bill is. And there's a purse bid British title fight just gets lost. It's on TV at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. No, look, I know boxing's on from 7 to 11. There's only us hardcore tuning in from 7 o'clock. People are getting home from football. They're having tea with their family on a Saturday. They tune in at 8:30. The fight's gone. And I think, so promoters overlook the selling of these fights. I think for English title fights, a lot of them are on the small hall shows. Is it down to the small hall promoters to push them a bit more? But, I think small hall promoters, they're too busy just making sure tickets are being sold to set a narrative.
Steve and John, do you think the board should have a role in that, in the fact, I know they see themselves as governing things, but would it be good if they jumped in a little bit more? And I don't know if that actually worked on the promotion, but I know that with this making certain matches or making across areas, so you've got the Midlands area against the Southern area, and do you know what I mean? And supporting the small, because as you know, the small promoters are so busy on getting over the line, getting everything done. I just think boxing really needs to do that to get people interested in the grassroots, and then that'll build up throughout the sport.
We've gone on a little bit, but just the only two ideas I can think of, I would love the occasional card where it was everyone worked together and you got on the same card, just a three card TV bill, the area title, English title and British title, all in the same weight division on one night, so people could. You could see the steps and you could see potential matches. If the board were getting involved, maybe they could make it so that you've got to have won an area title to compete for an English. You've got to have won an English to compete for a British.
That's what I mean.
We all know that people had just looked to circumnavigate around that, don't we? And look for these intercontinental belts. But best fight I saw last year was Brian Phillips and Mikey Gomez.
A lot of people talk about that.
For the area title.
Right, we've overrun there, and Lee's going to get angry with us there, John. I think our editor, Lee. You don't know Lee Hogan. He'll interview you someday. I'm sure he will, George. But he gets angry with us. Very angry with John. Very angry man, actually. Anyway, round 3. Look, I've got to go back to last night. We were recording this on Monday. People were moaning about the fight, Fury Paul. I mean, what the fuck did they expect? I mean, what did people expect last night? There's people it was rubbish. What were they're used to them to? What did they want? A fucking Hagler Hearns or something? I mean, it was never going to happen. Look, you've got 2 raw novices, one Tommy Fury who's shown his level, come in to give fair play, a lot of pressure last night. I think although he lost the fight, Jake Paul was the winner. Because for someone who hadn't stepped in a boxing gym 2 years ago to get where he has, fantastic. Look, it was what it was last night. It was 2 novices having a fight. I think Dow Arrowsmith put something. I don't know if you watched. I think you was in the dressing room Saturday night. Dow Arrowsmith and Jake Bray, they had a marvelous 4-rounder. So that was better than this. But that's what it was last night. Don't take it too seriously. It was what it was. The boys earned a load of money. Nepotism's got Tommy Fury where he is. Don't begrudge him it. Go on, Jules. You have your say. And I did watch it. I watched it anyway.
Steve. Completely agree. Honestly, I thought it was exactly what it was. 2 professionals that had under less than 10 fights each in their careers. It was what it was. It was two novices at the level that you'd expect them to be at. So I thought it was good. And then to see who's going to go on and move on, potentially out of those 2, I thought it was good. I have no issues with it. And people didn't understand that when they were moaning about it and stuff. But I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Do you know what? I reckon we're more tolerant to it because we see fights like that.
Yeah.
That's a great point. You see them every week. As I say, I saw one Saturday. John, you rarely miss a small hall show in Manchester.
Yeah, if I'd been at a Black Flash show, for example, and that fight had been on, that'd probably been the fight of the night.
Yeah.
As daft as it sounds, they both give it for all. It was okay. And we're used to seeing fights like that, so we're more forgiving of it. People who tuned in, who only watched the Anthony Joshua and stuff like that, they were obviously disappointed and thought it was shite. But I don't know, if you bought up on small hall shows and you don't miss them, then it was pretty bread and butter, really.
I think that's a great point, John, about we watch them fights all the time. George will be getting ready and you'll pop out and watch a fight when you know you're on at 11 o'clock at night. Like when you froze at Liverpool Olympia the other month, when you just get the 6 hours freezing. I think Scott
that was a tough night.
Yeah, Scott took you for some food to warm you up, if I remember rightly.
Can you imagine if Paul and Fury did the rematch at Liverpool Olympia? Shared dressing room, water.
Are we over there, John, again?
Just coming up to the time.
Right. John, over to you. And I think we're going to George's input here.
Yeah. George, now, again, looking down your record, you've not been in with the top prospects. You do your journeyman work off TV, don't you?
Yeah.
But who is the best person you've been in with? I'll be honest, I saw Berto Kumi's debut, and I've been around Berto in the gym and known about him for a long while, and he looked pretty red hot to me. But you negated him pretty well, and you could have won that fight, I think.
Yeah.
But who's the best person you've been in with? Who's the one you've earmarked for being like potentially really good?
So it's funny how you mentioned that Liverpool night. Sahirik Pal was really good, trained by Anthony Croller. How he makes super welter the size of him, 11 stone, or I'll never know. I fought when I started in December 21. I fought in Norwich, Dennis Nerja. He had Albania, I think in Albania he'd won like their amateur titles and stuff. He was really good. And then I tell you, I think will get really good. Who I fought, I think Mike Hennessy Jr. will get really good.
Really?
I know people have said, do you know what I mean? He might fade out and stuff. I think I disagree on that. I think he's still young, still growing. I think he'll grow into his physique. I think he'll be good, Hennessy Jr. I think he was good. That was a tough evening.
He got matched really tough early, didn't he, Hennessy Jr.?
Yeah. I think he'll come into it, Hennessy Jr. I think he'll come into it. I really do. He was good. He's good. He hits hard. He hit like a mule.
It's interesting you talk about Sahirik. Well, I was talking to Ant Croller about. We're still trying to match him for a show in a couple of weeks. He's his next fight. He's going to be 11-3 on the day or 10-12 day before. But it's amazing he was doing welterweight a year ago. 147.
I don't know how. I don't know the size of it. I don't know how. I do not know how.
What was Alfie Winters like? Can I ask you that?
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, Alfie Winter was really good as well. If I was to say a fourth, it would have been Winter. Alfie Winter probably. Yeah, he was really good it was on a Dean White show. He was really good.
How long now does it take you, George, to realise, hang on, this kid's handy, you know? Can you work it out with him? Is it the first time you feel a shot on your arm? Is it the way they move it? How long does it take you now to work somebody out?
First round, John, probably start maybe 30 seconds in. Once you've had a couple of shots against you, you think, oh, here we go, here we go. Or vice versa, of course, or vice versa. Probably 30 seconds in. Fortunately, I think I've got the experience now, which I know it all of a sudden. Like the lad I fought Saturday, Jamie Mellors, he was good, you know, like he was good. He was probably not of that ilk who I've fought, but I thought, right, oh no, or 30 seconds is going to be tough. I've got to do what I've got to do here, and and I've got to switch on and get myself through and go into the mode of when I know they're going to be really good. But
you journeymen all chat to each other, because I saw you asked Seamus what Jamie Mellor was like. So you must see these guys in the dressing room and say, "Oh, who are you boxing tonight? Oh, I boxed him last year. He does this." Remember, Seamus was showing you a couple moves what he tried to do.
Yeah, he let me know about the uppercut that he throws.
Yeah. Well, okay, we're on to round 5. This is going to be your rant, George, because you're a little bit angry about this on Saturday night. 4-round boxers who have camps. I knew John would smile here.
Yeah. So when I've listened to your podcast, like I do, when I'm listening to it, like I do, just a lot of the prospects. To be fair, recently less of them are doing it. Whether it was like a backlog from COVID or something, people were doing it, but people having 4-rounders and then prospects going missing for certain periods of time. It's just, in my opinion, it ain't right. It's you've got to keep momentum. 1 in your performance and what you're working on in the gym. 2 in your ticket sales, and I suppose that the hype around you, the hype around your fights. If you're putting on good performances, it's just momentum. The harder you work in life at most things, as we know, the luckier you get and the better you get. So just a lot of the prospects that I work that I've fought, and they'll have a fight, do a 4-rounder, then they'll go missing for 3 or 4 months plus sometimes. And I just wanted to mention that and say it's not the way I think. You get your fight done this is how I would do it. You're back in the gym probably the week after, slowly moving, and then you're back ready again, developing your skills and learning on what you did. I wouldn't have this camp culture for 4 rounders, guys. I don't know what you think. They go to camp, they go partying, you know. Yeah.
I'm matching fighters, so I'm not going to say too much on this. Go on, John.
Oh, it's one of our pet topics, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's incredible. One of my favourite little things to see is someone who's won a 4-rounder 40-36, and then the next day they've got the big Sunday roast, they're eating donuts all day, and as if they've been in solitary confinement on bread and water for weeks. God almighty, you're not even had to make a weight.
Yeah.
No, it drives me berserk. You know, it should just be a case of, for a lot of the people, they're expected to win. You know, turn up, do your best, do your job. If you've got a couple of bumps and bangs, a couple of days off, but if not, get back in. I know there is certain gyms where the trainer insists they're back on the Monday after a 4-rounder, but a lot of the fighters, I think they like having professional boxer in the bio on social media more than they actually like the life.
Yeah, and they eat a lot, don't they, after a fight? Go up in weight in the first few weeks to get the weight back now.
I'm going to challenge one of these kids to a rematch the week after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What is it like for you, George, when you're having a fight in a Journeyman? You said you fought some really good kids. When you know they're not so good, and you know you've played your role, you've lost on points, you're going to collect your money with Scott or with your trainer, and they're jumping on all 4 ring posts.
Yeah. It is what it is, isn't it? I suppose I don't see that, Steve. I've done my role in that scenario. Do you know what I mean? I don't look into it too much, to be honest. I know what I know what to do. I don't, but I know what I'm looking to get out of it. I focus more on that, and don't give that too much thought, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, final round, this is where you're going to reveal your true self. It's like your boxing gown comes off. You're a mortgage and financial advisor who has his own company, aren't you, George?
So I'm a mortgage advisor. I'm training to be a financial advisor. Hopefully we pass that relatively soon, all being well. So yes.
You know, you hear a lot of boxers like 4-round kid. We were talking about this briefly the other night, and I saw you say to a boxer, I'm not going to say you point it to himself. I'm always telling him what he should do with his money and the stuff. I'm not going to say, you know, he might well be looking after it, you know. Do you find yourself, you know, just tell us about your job outside boxing and how much that means to you first.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for this. Mortgage advisor. I've got my own business doing that. Training to be a financial advisor. And basically when I started the boxing, as I started it, so I did, so when I started it, I said, I just bought a house in Nottingham. And I said, I want boxing to paid for that financial asset for me. So to have paid my mortgage off by the time I'm done. Do you know what I mean? So then I can look back, because as we know, boxing is the hardest sport. I think it's the hardest sport in the world, in my opinion. Yeah, what you fighters go through, the emotions, what they go through, what they put their body through. Ultimately, I suppose it's dangerous to an element. You're taking risk. Hopefully, you get the reward at the end, but you're taking some risk. So I wanted to look back and say, right, when I do retire, and hopefully when I get to my 100 fights, I've looked back and that's what boxing's bought me. It's bought me that. So I ain't got a mortgage on that house. Touch wood, I should be hopefully getting into a position to be able to do that later this year. If I keep doing busy like I'm doing. And I just think, for other fighters to have those not tangible, but those goals where they're looking at it and they're seeing what they can achieve out of boxing. One, it'll motivate you to keep building and get to certain levels. And 2, hopefully, because like I say, it is the hardest sport. It's so difficult, especially if you're on the road or a prospect, just to look back and think that's what boxing got me, and it's got me that security. Because what I don't want people to do is to finish boxing and then the money's gone whilst they're boxing, and then it's not set them up for life, because that would be, you've gone through all that sort of heartache and all the difficult to, and then not have something that's paid them back, that's there to get off on that security afterwards.
Yeah. So do you advise boxers, or do you want to advise boxers when you retire?
I'd like to work with Scott, I think, and go into the management side. Yeah, go into management, then I can make sure they're looked after, and I would. put my opinions in on those sorts of things. Yeah, because ultimately I'd want the best for them. I'd see, that's what I'd do. I'd want the best for them. So I'd give my opinions on that stuff.
And would you say to them, I want to take, look, this is sound, because people think managers taking money is callous.
Yeah.
Would you say, I want to, for each person, say you're earning 1,400 tonight and you're clearing whatever, I want to put 200 away for you towards your house or something. Would you?
Yeah, ideas like that if I needed to. But I'd definitely inquire into what they're doing with it and how they're looking after it, and make sure I believe that they're putting it into the right things, or at least offer an opinion on what they're putting it into, I suppose.
So you've never spent a penny of your earnings from boxing?
I've just used it to try and pay the mortgage down. Yeah, try and pay the mortgage down. That's what I said. Then everything, when I'm running or it's hard or I'm sparring, I don't spar too much because I fight so often. But when I think, right, I can look back and say that's what boxing got me. You know what I mean?
You mean you've not put a Rolex on your credit card?
I should do, John. Yeah, actually, good shout.
I know a few people who've done that. God almighty. Yeah. John, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
We hear lots of people talking about fighters should be looked after by official boards when they retire. Do you think that's the case? If you look at other sports, they don't have these things in place. Or do you think it's from, how can I word it without sounding condescending? I'm not sure I can. The backgrounds a lot of fighters come from, maybe we don't think like that. We don't think as far forward as people in other sports.
Yeah.
Or do you think it's on the fighter themselves, like you have, to maybe take a bit more responsibility for themselves? What's your viewpoint on that?
I think with boxing, maybe it should be, because it is dangerous what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it does take a lot off. It does take its toll on the body over time. So I do think with boxing there should be that potentially. Not maybe with other sports, I don't know them like I do boxing. But I think there should. I think maybe there should be. Yeah, it's just the risk you want. If I had a fighter that I worked with later on, I want, for the risks that they're taking and what they're going through, I definitely want them to have that reward at the end and make sure it was all worth it at the end. Yeah.
Sort of questions just popped in my mind as well. It's slightly branching off. It's a daft one. Being a professional boxer, when you're doing your car insurance or your home insurance and you've got to put occupation,
yeah,
does it affect it?
It does on. So this is going down off on a tangent. It does on like protection insurances. So things like, of course, life cover or critical illness or private medical care and all that sort of stuff. Not on things like that normally. They don't normally ask about professional sport. It does on your protection ones.
I've been doing insurance and stuff recently. Asked profession.
Yeah.
And like
yeah.
Sports. I just wondered then. Does it make you more high risk if you're bombing it up and down the motorway at 2 o'clock on a Saturday night with 1,500 quid in your pocket?
When you're traveling around the country and, for your other job, meeting new clients. I know you travel, you say, so you listen to your podcasts like Bell to Bell and stuff. When you meet, I've got to ask you this, George, tangent, or are people surprised you're a professional boxer? Because you're one of the least looking professional boxers I've ever seen.
Really? Yeah. I thought I looked hard. You're breaking the idea here. Or what?
No. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because the way you speak, the way you conduct yourself. Like I noticed the other day, you just go in the dressing room. You're always smiling. You just sit there with your trainer, or with Scott, or with Owen Kirk, your trainer, and you're pretty chilled, aren't you?
Yeah. I try. I've learned to keep it to myself unless it gets geared in the conversation. Not the fact that it affects people. It's just I don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
About it. Yeah, if you speak about it, what I do notice is that it gets down the conversation of it's all about that, and then people leave the conversation with thinking all I do is talk about myself. So I try. Do you know what I mean? Because that could happen.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get why as well.
And then so I try and but then the ones that do, especially when you talk about the journeyman role and stuff that I do, it takes a bit of explaining,
But then I can get why you're a client, you're trying to make it all about them and where to get a mortgage, and they could leave thinking, well, all we did was talking about how he moves around the boxing ring, how
he does the boxing. You see, to me, well, that's what I've learned that over time. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't get him off it then. Yeah, you can't get them offered.
And we've got you desire what you want out of boxing. What do you want out of your financial business? Final question from me.
Just to slowly build that over time, and have other people working for me and stuff, and give them a good life from the business, like I would do if I managed fighters, I suppose.
John,
yeah.
No, it's been good to get George on. It's been a totally different sort of view than we usually get. I've enjoyed it. You've been good on.
I said to Steve Woods yesterday morning, I said, we're getting George Rogers on, someone different this week. Just want to get a different opinion, especially that last round was the best you faced with great things to talk about. George, thanks for coming on. I dare say I'll see you very soon. I think I've got you booked in. I don't know when it is. Hold on. You're booked soon, mate. You're a busy man. I don't know.
Stay on Lillis's good side.
Mate. I don't know. I've got you booked somewhere, mate. I can't find out where. No, not there.
Yeah.
I think I've got you somewhere anyway. Yeah, somewhere in April, I think. But anyway, George, thanks for coming on. John, thanks as always. Thanks everyone for listening. It's been a bit different this week, different sort of, we're usually all gobby and shouting on it. We've been interviewing George this week, asking him. And I know Anthony Croller will be made up when he sees a little blob on Twitter saying that Sir Eric Ball's the best I've faced. He'll love that.
Yeah.
George, thanks very much. Thank everyone for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.